Alright, this video is going to help you review some TinkerCAD commands if you need that help. So first of all, we'll start with movement. If you hold right click and move your mouse around, it will move this view, okay? If you ever get lost in the view, you can just hit the home button and it will take you right home. And then finally, to pan, that means move left to right or up and down without rotating. You just click the mouse wheel in and move your mouse around, and that will pan the object. And zooming in and out is like scrolling up and down a web page. Now, TinkerCAD, as you know, is all drag and drop, so it's very easy. On the right-hand side, you can drag and drop whatever you like. So I can drag and drop boxes and cylinders, spheres, whatever you like, and it drops it onto an area that is the same level as the work plane. Now the blue thing is the work plane. You do not need to drag things onto the work plane. You can drag them off the work plane or wherever you'd like. So just know that the work plane is just the level of which you are dragging the objects onto. For instance, I can move the work plane. So if I click and drag the work plane and I move it on top of the square there, the cube, you can see that it is no longer on the floor, and you can see it's now above all the objects. But now when I drag out my other objects, you're going to see that these are now on a whole other level. So take a look at that. It's the level that matters. So if I drag something out here, it's going to be on the same level. That's hard to see though. If I drag something out here, same level as the work plane because we moved it. The more you move it, the different ways you can place it and the different objects will be on that level. So for instance, if I move the work plane here, look at that, now it's angled. Well, everything I drag out is now going to be on an angle, okay? You can drag and drop the work plane anywhere in the white to get it back to, quote, normal, which is where it'll sit out of your way, okay? If I want to delete things on TinkerCAD, click and hit the delete button on your keyboard, not the backspace, but delete. You can also just click and drag a box around everything and delete it. Again, I'm going to go home so it goes back. So when I drag out an object, you can, by hand, click and drag the little white snappy points. That will let you resize the object to however big you want it. However, the best way is to use dimensions. So when I click on the white snappy points, there's dimensions over here. So this is 20 millimeters by 20 millimeters. So if I click 10 and hit enter, I can change it to whatever number I want. If I want this to be longer, I can change it to 30, okay? The height one is the center one. So the height one always gets people a little bit confused. That is the height. If I change that height, it's going to make it a little bit bigger, okay? So typically when you want to put something on the side of an object, like build something on the side, you just drag out a work plane and then you would like drag out whatever you're doing here. And then it would be directly on the object. However, sometimes you do something separately and you want to put it on the object anyway. Well, it's very easy. This cone here will always move parallel to the work plane. So it's always going to want to make the object go through the work plane, so where you line it up matters. So if I wanted it to go back towards this face right here, I'm in the right spot. So notice I can do this now, and I can kind of come over here and see if it's going to sink itself in, which it does. Now, if I were to move the work plane, notice the black cone, it's not there now. It moves to here, because then you can move it left and right, okay? So the cone will move in the direction of the work perpendicular to the work plane. So now, if I want to do a hole, okay, just to review a hole, I put a work plane on, I put whatever hole shape I want, and I can make it a hole. So now, if I want to make a hole, I do one of two things. If I'm going to make it all the way through, I'm going to make it long enough to intersect all the way through, and then I push it through the object. Now it's going all the way through. Or if it's not going to go all the way through, I just sink it down how far I want it to go through. Then what you can do is, I'll move the work plane, you can click and drag a box around the entire object, and you're going to hit group. Notice these things that were separate objects now are attached. They're all attached together. That's what grouping does, okay? If I don't want this object in the group, but I want the rest in, I can ungroup this. And if I want everything but that, I don't select that. And now I hit group. Now you can see the hole is cut through or partially the way through. I can click and move everything but this object, okay? Grouping, you must do group to put holes through objects, just so you're aware, okay? Finally, last thing here, the align toolbar. I'm just gonna put some stuff on my work plane here. So if I want to align an object, aligning objects is very easy. It's a bit challenging at first. So I'm gonna move the work plane out of the way. I highlight whatever I want to align. Then I'm gonna come up and hit align. And these dots are they look kind of how you would imagine. If I want to line up the center, you click that one, and you click that one, and we'll line them up to the centers nice and neat. That's pretty much the only thing you need for this. You can explore and hit these. Like, for instance, if I hit the middle one, it's going to align all the objects based on their center points, which we don't want in this case. If I go to here, it's going to line up by the top, and then the other one would be the bottom. But typically, you only really need the two center ones right here. You'll notice they're grayed out because I've already used them. So that is how you align to your toolbar. So that is pretty much all you need to get started in TinkerCAD.